Namaskar, good evening viewers. You're watching Sansad TV and this is the news with me, Bhawna Nayar. Over the next 30 minutes, we bring you the top developments of the day across the world. But first up, the top headlines of the day. Prime Minister Modi meets UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, condoles passing away of Sheikh Khalifa. GST Council meeting chaired by Finance Minister approves tax changes for some goods and services. Clears compliance procedures for GST registered businesses. Shiv Sena rebel leader Eknath Shinde claims support of 50 MLAs. Former Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis meets BJP President Nadda. Uddhav Thackeray appealed rebels to hold talks. World leaders condemn Russian missile on crowded shopping center in Kremenchuk city in Ukraine. Holds emergency meeting on targeting of civilians. In San Antonio, USA, 46 people found dead in a trailer, highlighting migrant smuggling in the country. A quick look now at some more important stories of the day. India has transitioned from women's development to women-led development, asserts Prime Minister Modi at G7 session on food security and gender equality. Education and Skill Development Minister PRADHAN underlines need for innovative and out-of-box methods to enhance access to quality and affordable education. Three-day CHINTAN BAITHAK of Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways concludes. Ideas and innovations to propel India's blue economy discussed. Chief Justices of Delhi and Telangana High Court sworn in. Justice Ujjal Bhuyan is the new Chief Justice of Telangana. Justice S.C. Sharma takes charge as Chief Justice of Delhi High Court. In its latest research report, SBI says income inequality in India has declined significantly since financial year 2017. E-learning Dak Karmyogi portal of Department of Post launched in Delhi. Portal developed under vision of Mission Karmyogi. Chemical and Fertilizers Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia chairs meeting for the upcoming 12th edition of India Chemical 2022 Vision 2030 Chem and Petrochemicals Build India to be this year's theme. Vice President Naidu, Prime Minister Modi pay tributes to former Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao on his birth anniversary. Prime Minister Modi says India is grateful to Rao for his rich contribution to national progress. HS PRANNOY progresses to second round of Malaysia Open, beats local hero Darren Louis in 3 tough games. England's World Cup 2019 winning captain Eoin Morgan announces retirement from international cricket, appeared record 225 times for England in ODIs. And now the top story of the day. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday met UAE President and ruler of Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan in Abu Dhabi. In a special gesture, Sheikh Mohammed, accompanied by senior members of the royal family, received Prime Minister Modi at the Abu Dhabi Presidential Airport. In the meeting, Prime Minister Modi conveyed his personal condolences on the demise of former President of the Gulf nation, Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, who died on 13th May at the age of 73 after a long illness. Prime Minister Modi called him a great statesman and a visionary leader, under whom India-UAE relations prospered. India had announced 1 day of state mourning following the demise of Sheikh Khalifa. Prime Minister Modi had arrived in the UAE on a brief visit after attending the G7 summit in Germany. Moving on, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is presiding over the 47th meeting of the GST Council in Chandigarh. The 2-day meeting approved changes in tax rates on some goods and services while allowing states to issue an e-way bill for intra-state movement of gold and precious stones. The Council also cleared compliance procedures for GST-registered businesses along with GOM report on high-risk taxpayers to check evasion. A discussion on the extension of compensation to states beyond June 2022 and imposition of 28% GST on casinos, online gaming and horse racing will take place on Wednesday. And the political crisis in Maharashtra took a new turn after Eknath Shinde, the rebel leader of the Shiv Sena, claimed to have support of 50 MLAs. Meanwhile, Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray appealed to rebel MLAs camping in Guwahati to return to Mumbai and talk to then party leadership. Shinde, on the other hand, said that the 50 MLAs with him are resolved to take the politics of Hindutva forward. He even rejected the claims of Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray that 20 MLAs of his rebel faction are in touch with him. Shinde further asked the Shiv Sena to disclose the names of these MLAs. Also, leader of opposition and former Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis reached Delhi to meet senior BJP leaders, including party President JP Nadda. He is understood to have discussed the political situation in Maharashtra. BJP has so far kept distance from the Shiv Sena by calling the rebellion as the party's internal matter. Meanwhile, Maharashtra Governor Bhagat Singh Koshari has written to the State Chief Secretary asking for full details of all government proposals and circulars issued from June 22nd to 24th. The ruling NCP and Congress ordered the release of funds worth hundreds of crores for development-related works in this period. And with approaching monsoon, Northwest India is likely to get relief from oppressive heat conditions in the next 2 days. The Meteorological Department has said that monsoon will cover Gujarat, parts of Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, entire Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh and Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab, Haryana and parts of Chandigarh and Delhi in the next 48 hours between 30th June and 1st July. Light to moderate rain may occur in Delhi on 30th June and 1st July. Moving on to our next story, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla on Tuesday called the PM Gati Shakti Master Plan a revolutionary measure for infrastructure development. He was addressing the National Highway Excellence Awards 2021 ceremony in Delhi. The Lok Sabha Speaker said improvements in infrastructure for agriculture, industry, services and tourism have brought about a comprehensive change in the lives of people in all sectors. He pointed out that expressways, access-controlled highways and economic corridors being built under the Bharatmala Pariyojana will prove to be a growth engines for the country.
माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के क्षेत्र के अंदर जिस तरीके से भारत ने नई गति दी है, आने वाले समय के अंदर हम ये कह सकते हैं कि दुनिया के अंदर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के क्षेत्र के अंदर भारत एक कीर्तिमान हासिल करेगा और निश्चित रूप से उसी दिशा के अंदर कि जितने भी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के सेक्टर हैं उन सेक्टर को एक प्लेटफॉर्म पर लाया जाए और इसलिए पीएम गति शक्ति मास्टर प्लान योजना बनाई गई.
And more news now from across the nation. Death toll in the building collapse in Mumbai's Kurla area has climbed to 11 while 13 people have been injured. The 4-storied building collapsed last night in Mumbai's Nayak Nagar society in Kurla. The BMC said that 9 injured have now been discharged from the hospital. The Maharashtra government has announced an ex gratia of 5 lakh rupees to the family of the deceased and free treatment for the injured. The BMC said that people continue to live in dilapidated building despite several warnings and notices to vacate it. Flood situation in Assam is showing signs of improvement with most of the rivers beginning to recede. However, 21 lakh people remain affected by the deluge. Most areas of Silchar town in Kachar district have remained underwater for more than a week. Efforts are underway to airdrop essential items to people. The death toll has increased to 134 with 5 more deaths recorded in the last 24 hours. While 1 person was missing. Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma visited an embankment beach spot at Kuwara in Bajali district to take stock of the flood situation. 4 persons, including 3 ONGC employees, died as a Pawan Hans helicopter crashed into the Arabian Sea near the Mumbai coast on Tuesday. 2 pilots and 7 others were on board the helicopter that crashed near ONGC Sagar Kiran rig. All 9 people were pulled out after successful rescue operations, but 4 of them were declared dead at the hospital. Union Minister of Cooperation Amit announced on Tuesday that cooperative sector banks will soon be given permission to implement government welfare schemes. These schemes will include the ones that use the trinity of Jan Dhan Aadhaar mobile system for direct benefit transfer. India has assured that it is committed to protect at least 30% of its land, water and oceans. Addressing the United Nations Oceans Conference in Lisbon, Union Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh presented the Prime Minister's vision for the conservation of ocean and marine resources. He said India is working in mission mode to achieve its target. Delegates from over 130 countries are taking part in the 5-day conference. Dr. Singh said India will provide science and innovation-based solutions to implement SDG Goal 14 through partnerships and eco-friendly solutions. Now let us take a look at some more stories from the world of business and economy. Akash Ambani, the eldest son of industrialist Mukesh Ambani, took over as the chairman of the board of directors of Reliance Jio. The move comes just weeks ahead of the much-awaited 5G spectrum auction, over which Reliance Jio is in an intense competition with Vodafone and Bharti Airtel. Padma Bhushan awardee and noted industrialist Pallonji Mistry passed away at the age of 93 in Mumbai. Under his leadership, Shapurji Pallonji Group diversified into businesses such as real estate, textiles, shipping and construction. Prime Minister Modi and senior cabinet members paid tributes to him. Pallonji is survived by 4 children, including Cyrus Mistry, who succeeded Ratan Tata as chairman of the Tata Group before he was removed by the board in 2016. After a roller coaster session through the day, both the Sensex and Nifty closed marginally higher with a rise of 0.03%. Mahindra & Mahindra continued to make rapid gains with a rise of nearly 2.7%, followed by Reliance Industries and Dr. Reddy's. Markets in Asia and Europe also ended with marginal gains. The international oil benchmark Brent crude jumped 1.58% to $116.9 per barrel US dollars. And slipping into a short break here, but on the other side, what's next in medicine? Medical students to get training with holographic patients. All this and much more. All this after this short break. You stay tuned to Sansad TV. Welcome back after the break. You're watching the news and time now for all the main developments from the Russia-Ukraine war front. A day after Russia bombed a bustling shopping mall in the city of Kremenchuk in central Ukraine, the United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting on Russia's targeting of civilians. Monday's attack came on the day G7 nations pledged continued support to Ukraine and proposed new sanctions against Russia, including a price cap on oil and higher tariffs on goods. More details in this report.
A Russian missile struck a crowded shopping center in Kremenchuk city on Monday, killing at least 18 people and wounding 59 others. More than 40 people were reported missing. Black smoke, dust and flames billowed from the wreckages as emergency crews searched through the rubble for survivors. Hundreds of rescue and emergency service workers are continuing rescue operations. Ukrainian officials said Russian Tu-22M3 long-range bombers flying over Russia's western Kursk region fired the missiles. Ukrainian President Zelensky called the strike one of the most defiant terrorist attacks in European history. He said over 1,000 people were inside when 2 Russian missiles slammed into the shopping mall. Ukraine's Prosecutor General said the bombing of civilian infrastructure raised a question of crimes against humanity. Russia's deputy ambassador to the United Nations wrote on Twitter that the attack was a Ukrainian provocation. G7 nations condemned the attack in a statement, saying indiscriminate attacks on innocent civilians constitute a war crime. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said the Kremenchuk attack demonstrated Putin's depths of cruelty and barbarism. While US President Joe Biden said the United States and its allies will continue to hold Russia accountable for such attacks. UN Chief's Antonio Guterres' office also condemned the attack as totally deplorable. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
A day after Russian missile attack on a shopping mall in Kremenchuk, Ukrainian President Zelensky stressed on the need for a powerful missile defense system for Ukraine to prevent Russian terrorist attacks. In a Twitter message, he said that he had a phone conversation with NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg and coordinated positions on the eve of the NATO summit in Madrid. Russian forces are closing in on the eastern Ukrainian city of Lysychansk after taking control of the neighboring city of Severodonetsk. The governor of Luhansk said that Russian forces are storming the city from the south and southwest, aiming to block key supply routes. Meanwhile, Russian forces and Moscow-backed separatists now control part of an oil refinery in the city. G7 leaders agreed to spend $4.5 billion to address food security issues around the world, aggravated by rising food costs and due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. In a statement, the G7 nations called on Russia to end its blockade of Ukraine. The United States has announced $2.76 billion towards the effort, which will be used to assist 47 countries and regional organizations dealing with food insecurity and malnutrition. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris administered the oath of office to the new United States Ambassador to Ukraine, Bridget Brink. Ambassador Brink was confirmed unanimously by the U.S. Senate last month and met with Ukrainian President Zelensky in Kiev days later. Brink is Washington's first ambassador in Kiev since former U.S. President Donald Trump abruptly forced out Ambassador Mario Vinovich in 2019. A $325 million super yacht seized by the United States from a sanctioned Russian oligarch arrived in San Diego Bay on Monday. The 348-foot-long Amelia flew an American flag as it sailed past the retired aircraft carrier USS Midway. The FBI linked the Amelia to the Russian oligarch Suleiman Kerimev, and vessel became a target of task force klepto-capture launched in March to seize the assets of Russian oligarchs to put pressure on Russia to end the war in Ukraine. And time now for some other global updates. "46 people were found dead in a tractor trailer in a presumed migrant smuggling attempt into the United States. 16 others were hospitalized in one of the deadliest tragedies that have struck people attempting to cross the U.S. border from Mexico in the recent decades. Here is a report.
South Texas has long been the busiest area for illegal border crossings in America. Migrants ride in vehicles through border patrol checkpoints to San Antonio, the closest major city from where they disperse across the U.S. But on Monday, body bags spread on the ground near a trailer served as a macabre reminder of what happens when plans go wrong. At around 6 p.m., a city worker on a remote back road in southwest San Antonio was alerted by a cry for help. Officers arrived to find a body on the ground outside the trailer and a partially open gate to the trailer. 16 people were taken to hospitals with heat-related illnesses. 46 people were found dead. 12 of the hospitalized people were adults and 4 were children. The patients were hot to the touch and dehydrated, and no water was found in the trailer. The victims were part of a presumed migrant smuggling attempt into the US. 3 people were taken into custody, but it was unclear if they were absolutely connected with human trafficking. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And now an update from the field of innovation and technology. For the first time in the world, students at the Cambridge University hospitals will get medical training with holographic patients. The technology will be available as soon as next year and will enable students to learn in simulated, highly realistic scenarios. Would you like to see this mix of reality? Do have a look.
The patient on this hospital bed is a hologram. Through holographic headsets, the medical staff and students are able to see the same environment. But unlike virtual reality, which totally replaces the user's surroundings with virtual elements, This solution adds virtual elements to a real environment. It's called mixed reality. The technology is being developed at Cambridge University Hospitals in partnership with the University of Cambridge and Los Angeles-based technology company GigXR. Cambridge University plans to start using holographic patients in medical training for its students from 2023. The technology will also help spread high-quality simulation training exercises to hospitals and universities. The software is still under development but should be released at the end of the year. For now, a single module is available. It focuses on respiratory conditions where students can use a stethoscope, read a patient monitor, put on oxygen masks, and more. The holographic patient shows symptoms of asthma, followed by anaphylaxis, pulmonary embolism, and pneumonia. In the long run, more and more modules will be created and a toolkit of scenarios will be available. Each module will have different levels of complexity from view-only mode to an assisted decision mode with hints all the way up to an expert mode. The University of Cambridge will also conduct research to evaluate the impact of this project both on students and patients. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And more news now from across the world. At least 13 people died and 200 people hospitalized after a chemical spill accident in Jordan's port of Aqaba. The mishap took place when a crane loading chlorine tanks onto a ship dropped one, causing an explosion. Jordan's Public Security Directorate sealed off the area and experts were sent to deal with chemical disaster. Jordan's Prime Minister has ordered an investigation into the incident. Local authorities have urged people to stay indoors and keep their windows and doors shut. Right after the virtual BRICS meet concluded, two new countries, Iran and Argentina, have applied for its membership. Iran's foreign ministry has said that Iran's membership in BRICS group would result in added value to both sides. Notably, Argentinian President Alberto Fernandez has time and again expressed his desire for Argentina to join BRICS. In Peru, hundreds of supporters of President Pedro Castillo took out a march demanding the president to dissolve the Congress. The demonstrations were in response to the failures of the Congress in passing the laws that benefited the working class people. President Castillo was sworn into office in July 2021 and has survived two impeachment attempts in the Congress in past few months. He is also facing corruption charges. Sri Lanka has announced a 2-week halt to all fuel sales except for essential services. The government has urged the private sector to let the employees work from home to reduce the consumption of fuel. Besides the fuel crisis, Sri Lanka is also facing record high inflation and frequent and longer power blackouts. To conserve the resources, government has taken several steps, including shutting down all government schools, while institutions are getting by with the necessary skeleton staff. Colombo is also about to implement a token system to facilitate ration distribution of its limited fuel stocks. US-led coalition killed Al-Qaeda commander Abu Hamza al-Yamini in a drone strike in northwestern Syria. Al-Yamini was a very senior member of Horas al-Din, a radical outfit linked with Al-Qaeda. US Central Command called it a kinetic strike and confirmed the death of the target. They also confirmed that there were no civilian casualties due to the drone strike that killed al-Yamini. And time now for all the sporting action. Starting with cricket, India will be touring New Zealand for a white ball series comprising 3 T20Is and as many ODIs after the World T20 in Australia, New Zealand cricket set today. The series will be held between November 18 to 30 and New Zealand will return to India for a white ball series in January next year. In tennis now, 7th seed Hubert Hurkacz bowed out on day 1 of the Wimbledon Championships. Hurkacz was beaten 6-7, 4-6, 7-5, 6-2, 7-6 by Alejandro Davidovich Fokina in first round. Among the seeds who made it to the second round on the opening day of the championships were Novak Djokovic and teenage Spaniard Carlos Alcaraz. Alcaraz defeated Germany's Jan-Lennard Stoff 4-6, 7-5, 4-6, 7-6, 6-4 in the first round. Last year's Wimbledon runner-up, Matteo Berrettini, has been forced to withdraw from this year's edition of the Grass Court Slam after returning a positive COVID-19 test on Tuesday. The Italian, who has been touted by many as amongst the top two favourites to win the title of All England club this year. In Formula One now, Lewis Hamilton has said that the time has come for action after being subject of a racially offensive term used by three-time Formula One world champion Nelson Piquet. Formula One and motorsports governing body, the FIA, condemned the 69-year-old Brazilian who made the comments during a podcast. In hockey now, Olympic and World Cup medalist Virender Singh, who was an integral part of some of the India's memorable victories in the 1970s, died in Jalandhar today morning. He was 75. Virender Singh was part of the gold medal winning Indian team at the 1975 Men's Hockey World Cup in Kuala Lumpur. This remains India's only gold medal at the prestigious tournament, where the countries had beaten arch rivals Pakistan 2-1 in the final. And before we wrap, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Prime Minister Modi meets UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, condoles passing away of Sheikh Khalifa. GST Council meeting chaired by Finance Minister approved tax changes for some goods and services, clears compliance procedures for GST registered businesses. Shiv Sena rebel leader Eknath Shinde claims support of 50 MLAs. Former Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis meets BJP President Nadda. Uddhav Thackeray appealed rebels to hold talks. World leaders condemn Russian missile on crowded shopping center in Kremenchuk city in Ukraine. Holds emergency meeting on targeting of civilians. And in San Antonio, USA, 46 people found dead in a trailer highlighting migrant smuggling in the country. And that comes to an end of this bulletin. To keep yourself updated, stay tuned to Sansad TV for more programs. Till then, good night. Namaskar.